joining us from West Palm Beach is Mr. John Rene from the Florida Atlantic University. Welcome to our newscaster. So yet another hurricane and important warnings about potential floods. It seems that Sally is going to be very dangerous. What do we expect at this point?
Yes, Hurricane Sally came on shore earlier today, causing catastrophic damages to the Gulf area, concentrated from Gulf Shores, Alabama, over to Pensacola, Florida, an area that I'm very familiar with. Spent a lot of time over there over the years. And what this storm really teaches us is how powerful a Category 2 storm can really be. There are thousands of people stranded right now that need to be evacuated from hazardous flooding situations. There are highways that have been torn apart, and there are just so much damage and destruction to homes and neighborhoods and buildings and businesses. And so we often think of a Category 2 hurricane as not a big deal, but this storm, Hurricane Sally, has taught us that a Category 2 storm can really pack a very powerful punch.
Does this mean, sir, that we are not being able to have an accurate estimate of how strong this hurricane will be?
Well, hurricanes are typically rated based on wind speeds, but there is a lot more to these hurricanes than just wind speeds. Several years ago, we had Hurricane Harvey, which was a very slow-moving storm and dumped lots and lots of rain on Houston, Texas. This was a very similar storm that hung out in the Gulf of Mexico for several days. Very, very slow moving. It was moving about 2 miles per hour yesterday. And it dumped a lot of rain on the west coast of Florida and the Gulf coastal areas of Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So it's looking just at the category of the storm can be misleading. We are starting to see, obviously, very powerful hurricanes. Hurricane Michael in 2018 hit the area just to the east of this area near Panama City, Florida, and that part of Florida, a few hours to the east. And that was a Category 5 hurricane that packed a lot of power, but didn't have as much rainfall as this storm.
Yes, sir. There are warnings that the hurricane will bring heavy floods. What do we exactly expect? And do you believe that at this point we are getting as ready as possible to prevent huge damages? We know that President Trump said that the federal government will send the National Guard to assist.
Yeah, this is an area that I've studied closely, the whole state of Florida, but in particular the Panhandle. We found several years ago in some research that we did at Florida Atlantic University that the counties in the Panhandle were some of the least prepared counties for emergency preparedness, particularly for vulnerable populations who need the most assistance. We need to do a better job of beefing up and increasing our plans, making our cities, our towns, and our counties more resilient. We often think that the vulnerable areas are the areas right up adjacent to the coast, but these storms push a very large volume of water up the riverways and cause a lot of inland flooding. And of course, the additional rainfall and wind damage can accentuate that disaster. So we have a lot of work to do. And in the United States, the federal government functions as a response agency. It's really up to the local governments to prepare themselves, and they need to come up with the plans. The federal government in the United States does not mandate disaster planning from the top down. They are only called in to provide assistance when a disaster strikes. They do provide some grants to assist local governments to help in planning for disasters and being more resilient. But those are grants that local governments need to apply for. There's no mandate that local governments need to prepare ahead of time.
Yes, sir. Is this the reason why the losses are so huge despite the ongoing warnings? For instance, this year, according to experts, we are almost running out of names for the hurricanes.
I would definitely agree that a ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and the policies that we have at the federal level in the United States is really not about prevention. It's all about response, and that has a long history in the United States, including the Stafford Act and other federal policies that govern emergency preparedness and disasters. We need to do a better job of rethinking how we can prepare our cities, our towns, and our local communities to better prepare. The state of Florida is one of the best in the United States, and it comes with a fair amount of financial assistance at the state level to provide emergency managers at the county level the ability to prepare and create disaster plans. But even in Florida, you find that there is a lot more preparedness that needs to happen, and you find other places, along the Gulf Coast and other states in the United States that are not at the same level of preparedness as Florida is. And this is a storm that hit the border between Florida and Alabama most hardest, and it will be interesting to see how each of those two states have been able to respond to the disaster and how that will ensue in the recovery from the storms moving forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. John Rennie from
Thank
the
you.
Florida Atlantic University for joining us live. Appreciate it, sir.